nice crowd has turned up here at the Millennium Sporting Club at the Palace Hotel in Manchester. So there you are then, that is Wladimir Borov. Record is not fantastic. 11 wins, 1 draw and 6 defeats, but there's a couple of interesting defeats on the record, which hopefully I'll get to a little bit later. So on his way then to the ring, that hell of a long walk, by the way, from the dressing room, Pat Mullings. And here they come, led out by Dean Powell. Here he is, they call him the schoolboy. Patrick Mullings, a car dealer from Harrow. And Pat, of course, the former British Super Bantamweight champion. And also the Commonwealth Featherweight champion. So, here we go then.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. Tranquility for Palace Promotions, in association with Steve Wood and Steve Foster for Viking International Promotions, proudly present 12 3-minute rounds for the Vacant IBO Inter-Continental Super Bantamweight Championship. We'd like to thank our main sponsors, Valves Instruments Plus Limited, and extend a warm welcome to our viewers watching live and exclusively on the Pan-European sport channel, Eurosport. We are commentators are Steve Holdsworth and Bernard Castor. All tonight's officials are appointed by the IBO, President Ed Levine of Florida in the USA. Your fight supervisor is George M. Alonso from Miami, also in the USA. Your student in charge is Mr. Dennis Lawton. Your matchmakers are Mr. Graham Lockwood and Mr. Dean Powell. Your inspectors are John Hall and Alan Allister. Your doctors are David Sim and Fraser Pinkney. Finally, your timekeeper is Mr. Colin Roberts from Halifax at the Bell. Your 3 scoring judges at ringside are Mr. Paul Herman from Miami, Florida, USA, Mr. Wilhelm Vogel from Austria, and Mr. John Coyle from Wolverhampton, England. And finally, your referee from Birmingham, England, is Mr. Terry O'Connor. Ladies and gentlemen, this is 12 3-minute rounds for the Vacant IBO Inter-Continental Super Bantamweight Championship between, and introducing to you firstly, boxing out of the blue corner, this young man is wearing the blue shorts with the white trim. At the weighing scale, 8 stone, 9 1/2 pounds, or 55 kilos. He brings to the ring an 18-fight professional record, 11 wins, 5 of those wins coming by way of knockout, with 6 defeats and 1 draw. Please welcome from Bulgaria, Wladimir Borov. And across the ring in the red corner, this young man is wearing the black shorts. At the weighing scale, 8 stone and 10 pounds, or 55.3 kilos. He brings to the ring an outstanding record, 26 fights, 21 wins, 10 of those wins coming inside the scheduled distance by way of knockout, and only 5 defeats. He is the former featherweight champion of the Commonwealth, the former Super Bantamweight champion of Great Britain, and the former IBO Super Bantamweight champion of the world from Harrow, Patrick Mullings.
Right, main event time. Patrick Mullings in action against Wladimir Borov, the vacant IBO Intercontinental Super Bantamweight Championship. Round 1 then of a scheduled 12 rounds. Pat Mullings from Harrow in the black trunks in action against Wladimir Borov, the vacant IBO Super Bantamweight Championship. The vacant IBO Intercontinental. That is the junior division, of course, of their title. Now, there's a couple of worrying things here. Against Borov, in fact, he was outpointed by one Frankie Leroy, the Frenchman, who was absolutely blitzed and around by Pat Mullings. It was also outpointed by Salim Mejkoun. But when you think of the wars that Mullings has been involved with recently, in fact, a couple of them very controversially went in his favour. You know, he really has been to hell and back in the boxing ring and proved he can win. Last time beaten on points over 12 rounds by Scott Harrison for the Commonwealth title. Prior to that, of course, he beat Eric Odemasi, the African, at Wembley, and most people, around me anyway, thought that Pat was lucky to get it that night. Other results on the record: beaten on points by Drew Doherty for the British Super Bantamweight Championship. And also outscored by another very useful fighter in Simon Ramoni. So, you know, Pat Mullings has been there. He's come through occasionally, other times he hasn't. But he's a nice fella, and we wish him all the very best. And this one is well within his grasp, I would have imagined. One other major result worth mentioning, of course, on the Mullings record was a 10th round stoppage at the hands of Spencer Oliver back in 1997. That, of course, was for the Southern Area Championship, and a lot of people thought that was pretty controversial, the timing of the stoppage, but that's another story. Nice body shot there from Mullings. Well, Borov, for his part, doesn't look at all overawed by this challenge. Decent right hook there from Mullings. Those 11 wins, by the way, of Borov, 5 of them have come via the short route. And not a tremendous puncher. Oops, and well, Mullings there just catching Borov. ...21 wins, of course, for Patrick, 5 defeats, 10 knockouts. So, once again, he's not a tremendous one-punch hitter, but he works very hard. Nice body shots there from Patrick, and a good finish for Mullings. Well, I'm not afraid Mullings has taken the opening round, and principally a good finish that did it for him. Well, our ring card girl has had a change of outfit. Don't ask me why. But it looks 4 or 5 sizes too small for her. Well, nice action there. Nice uppercut, in fact, from the Bulgarian. So round 2 then. So round 2 then, and well, there's a problem. Oh, that's right. Yes, the Bulgarian corner. They're just leaving a couple of accessories up on the apron. Here we go again. Restart for round 2. Nice sharp word there from Mullings. Well, that's interesting. Borov there trying to jump on Patrick's back. Long sport, mate. Well, what's going on here? Well, that's very naughty from Wladimir Borov. We don't like to see that illegal tactics in a boxing ring. It's hard enough when it's done right. And of course, it can cause some major damage that may be long-lasting. Oh, lovely work again from Mullings downstairs. And talking about damage caused by illegal moves, elbows or head, I just wonder what the possibility would be of actually suing someone in court for causing that kind of illegal damage. It's never been done, but I tell you what, in these litigious days, it may not be too long before we find out. So this tasty little southpaw then from Harrow. Pat Mullings is boxing very well here at the moment, but not doing any better, I don't think, than he was anticipated to do. It's that kind of match, really. And of course, the big question is, can Mullings finish him before the 12 is out? He's looking for it. Of course, when you look for it, it tends not to come, but well, he works so hard and throws punches from all angles and non-stop, and then once again, a left to the body there, hurting Borov. Just have a word with Peter Keeling again. Peter, can you see this one going 12?
No, I can't see it going 6 rounds, really, but you've got to remember that Borov's from an Eastern European country. The money they can get over there is an enormous stimulus, so he will fight really to the death, and you can get surprises in this kind of fight. But on the what we've seen so far, Mullings looks to be a winner in 6 rounds, but there's a long way to go yet.
Thank you, Peter. Well, I would almost concur with that opinion, and the reason for that is the body shots are really ripping into him. He's tucking his elbows in, he's buckled once or twice from them, especially the left hand to the body. Although he looks quite muscular, it doesn't tell the whole story. Of course, it's early days, we're only in round 2 here, and already Borov is beginning to feel the weight of Mullings' punches downstairs, and upstairs too. Excellent round for Mullings that time, much clearer than round 1. So all of the judges then at ringside hand their scorecards to the referee, who picks them and gives them to the supervisor. A bit of replay coming up. Yes, a bit of replay here from round 2. This is Borov going forward and jumping on Mullings' back like that. As I say, that's the wrong kind of sport, really. And here we are, a bit more action. Is this the headbutt, I wonder? No, it's not. Oh, my apologies. So here we go, we're in round 3. So Mullings then wants to get this one over as quickly as he can. He's been through some grueling wars in his career so far. You know, lots of 12-rounders. In fact, 5 10-rounders in the last year. Can you believe that? Once again, lovely work from Mullings. Fast, hard, accurate punches. Although I say hard, by Mullings' standards they're hard. He's not a tremendous one-punch hitter, which is of course why he works so hard. Feet 4.5 tall, by the way, Patrick, and he's now 29 years of age. Oh, and again, downstairs, those rights and lefts ripping in. And already Borov has had to absorb a great deal of many shots, and we're only sort of towards the end of round 3. He's taken quite a lot downstairs. Well, Borov now getting a bit tighter defensively. Mullings not having quite the success there with those head punches. But I don't think it's a headshot that's going to do the damage here. Bit of blood there flying, I think, from the nose now of Borov. Well, it's all getting a bit one-sided now. Borov very defensively minded, and that's not at all surprising. He's been under severe pressure from bell one, really. His best round really was the first, although he didn't win it. But Mullings has really sussed him out very early. Well, yes, once again, a big round then for Pat Mullings. So 3 gone, he's won them all so far. So 3 rounds completed then, potentially, of course, 9 more to go. But back to Peter Keeling. Peter, I think that was a pretty decent pick, 6 rounds.
Yes, I think so, and totally dominant Mullings at the moment. Don't forget, though, I think he's lost 2 out of his last 3, hasn't he, Steve? And who knows, but so far he's well on top, and by God, Borov's ribs must be hurting. He's taking tremendous punishment to the body.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, of course, Pat Mullings has lost 2 of his last 3, and that's a point worth mentioning. But it also must be said that this is a slight step down in class as well. In fact, quite a big step down in class, I'd suggest. The likes of Scott Harrison and Eric Odomasi, and of course Michael Aldis recently beat Mullings in 1999 for the British Super Bantamweight Championship. So you know, there's been a lot of hard 12-rounders, and they've all gone the distance. So Mullings almost getting a night off, really, by his standards. Pat Mullings, of course, managed by our promoter, Frank Maloney, trained by Dean Powell, and, of course, the erstwhile cutsman, Mick Williamson. Well, once again, his shot's absolutely ripping through Borov now. Well, now Pat Mullings using that straight left through the middle, and the head there of Borov getting jerked back. That's interesting. One of the IBO inspectors there just going over to have a go at the photographers to move away. I tell you what, there's only 2 of them here, and they're being very good, I think. Ordinarily, you go to any major boxing show, and the whole side of the ring is absolutely cluttered with photographers, and nothing ever gets said, because they tend to behave themselves anyway. So just an unnecessary intervention there, I think, by an over-officious IBO official. Well, we're still getting a very one-sided pattern here now. Mullings is absolutely flying in this one. The blood from the nose of Borov still just trickling out. But I think he must be hurting inside, though, no doubt about that. 4 gone, all for Mullings. Well, that's a pained expression, isn't it? And he looks as fresh as a daisy. Well, we're going to have a look at some of these sporting celebrities here on the top table now. From right to left, we've got actually Sean Long there, rugby star. Next to him, Adrian Morley, another rugby star. And next to him, of course, the Hollyoaks actor, Will Mellor, my apologies. And his mate. And we didn't even get a drink. So, round 5.
Second round, round 5.
Well, the shorts there of Borov have come down. He's actually caught his shorts coming out of the corner, and they almost an embarrassing situation there. Of course, those of you who don't know, they wear a big leather and plastic protector underneath the shorts for obvious reasons, and they don't wear undies, so you see some fighters get their shorts split, and it can look rather bizarre. And I don't imagine that any of our 3 judges from Britain, Austria and America have any worries in this one about the way the scoring's going. It's been very one-sided. I'm not saying it's a mismatch, because it's not. You know, I mean, Borov has got something to offer, but Mullings just won't let him offer it. Well, we've got this round and, of course, one more to try and get to fruition Peter Keeling's assessment of this one, which I think was pretty fair. Well, is Mullings allowing Borov here just to have a bit of success to sucker him in and give him a false sense of security, I wonder? And you can already see a big red patch there developing on the left rib cage. Just have a look at that. The left rib cage of Borov is very reddened now, and of course so's the right, although you may not be able to see it. Well, careless head there from Borov, and Pat Mullings is just having a bit of a moan about that. Might just be a little crack in the armour now here of Borov beginning to show, if that's not necessarily what he's resorting to, but subconsciously. Oh, wonderful work again from Patrick. Well, Terry O'Connor could stop this one sooner rather than later if this continues. Slowly but surely, Mullings chipping away. And it's often been a question that's been asked, you know, why don't they have big referees for heavyweight fights and small referees for the lighter weights? Good question. Don't know. Big round again for Mullings, though. Well, we've had 5, and we've got 7 more to go. So we had a look at the celebrities on the top table, but let me just tell you that the after-boxing comedian is the one and only Bernard Manning. So once again, bit of replay here. This Mullings going to work nicely, but Borov had a little spell in that round simply because Mullings allowed him to. Into round 6. Well, this is the round that Peter fancied Mullings to win. Me too. Thinking about it, but well, I don't know. This might go a bit further. Once again, a push down then from Borov. Well, Borov now looks like he's got a new pair of legs out there. He wasn't doing a great deal of moving in the early stages, but now he is, and I don't know, slight change in attitude as well. Maybe he was anticipating getting beaten within the first 6, and since he's still there, he might just fancy his chances now. I don't think he can win it, though, even if he does last the full route. Oh, good shot. Nice right hook there from Mullings. Well, Borov now just sticking out that nagging left hand. That's a good moment, I think, for Mullings to counter, but he chose not to. Very good short puncher, Mullings. Well, again, nice work from Mullings. It's possibly the quietest round we've had so far. Well, I've got a feeling that this is probably going to be quite a long fight now, Peter. What do you think?
That could be. Very resilient is Borov. He's done particularly well in the last 2 rounds. The first 90 seconds of the 5th round, he was really on top, and then of course Mullings came back with some heavy body shots. Same in this round. He started well, Borov. He seems to be getting the pace of the fight now. And as I said earlier, these Eastern Europeans, the money means a lot to them, and success in the ring here will really set him up. He came into the fight a bit of an unknown quantity because most of his fights have been against fellow Europeans, and it looked as though Mullings was a very strong favourite. Well, the indications are still that Mullings is going to win, but it's harder than it looked in the first 4 rounds.
Thank you very much, Peter Keeling, then, giving his erstwhile opinion, and a good one at that. Interesting point to make, of course, that Borov has campaigned almost exclusively against Eastern Europeans, and up against a very lively Brit here in Pat Mullings. So, referee Terry O'Connor brings them together for more work there in the halfway point of this scheduled 12-rounder. It's for, of course, the vacant IBO Intercontinental title. Well, taking a look at Borov's cornerman there, he's almost instructing him as the rounds wear on. He's saying, come forward, go back, hold, get away, move. And so far, Borov is doing everything almost to instruction, but of course what the cornerman can't do is tell him how to win it. Well, once again, nice left-hand work then from Pat Mullings. Well, still both men, I should say, look very capable of going 12 rounds. And I've got a feeling this one's going to last a bit now, having concurred with Peter earlier that it might all be over because there's so much pressure coming from Mullings that you wouldn't have thought that Borov could have withstood it. But he has. Once again, careless head work there from Borov, just coming in. And of course, it's been a very busy period for our promoter, Frank Maloney. In fact, our joint promoter with Steve Woods and Steve Foster. But Frank Maloney's actually promoted the first British internet fight night in London yesterday. He's here in Manchester today, and of course, he's back in London tomorrow. So, very busy man. And of course, the officials that he's using are also very busy too. Well, a quiet around that time, but Mullings is nonetheless. Getting very much like it's going to go the full 12 now. Five rounds to go, including this one. And all of a sudden, Borov comes out fairly lively. And of course, you know, think about referees when they take charge of these fights. One thing they need to do, of course, is make sure they don't get in the fighter's way. They've got to try and anticipate which way they're going to go, what sort of punches are going to be thrown, and, you know, whether they have to stop moving or just keep on going. And, you know, sometimes it's quite a trick. You've also got to be there to dive in, if necessary, to protect a certain fighter from the attack of another. So, you know, it's a very involved job. And add to that, of course, not in this case, but ordinarily in British boxing rings, the referee will score as well. Some people think that's far too much to do. Personally, I don't personally, but I can understand why the change is desired by many, to have a non-scoring referee and judges instead, but only, of course, in my opinion, in major fights of 10 rounds and above. So you've got to be fit for this, you know. They might not look at it, most of the British referees, but they need to be on their feet for a move around the ring for 12 rounds, and that's not too easy sometimes. Well, suddenly we're getting a bit of an aggressive comeback here by Wladimir Borov, and Pat Mullings forced to soak up punches, but they don't seem to bother him. And although Borov has had a bit of success there, Mullings still very capable of coming back and taking the play away from him. Well, Mullings firing single shots, but I've got a feeling that Borov might be winning his first round in this one. Well, yes, I think Borov's won the first round of the fight, for him anyway. So 7 rounds to 1 then, with 8 gone and 4 to go. For the replay once again, and once again back to Peter Keeling. Peter, there was a bit of a change there, but do you see that being a permanent change?
Well, there's no doubt about it that Borov won that round. The first round is won, and I think, you know, this last 2 or 3 rounds, it's been noticeable that I think Borov feels he perhaps gave Mullings a little bit too much respect in the early rounds. He's beginning to look more confident, he's scoring well, and it's also noticeable that Mullings is only getting pressure in terms of 2 and 3 shot punches, whereas in the earlier rounds it was 5, 6, 7 punch volleys, and he had the Eastern European guy under severe pressure. Now it's quite a fight now.
Thank you, Peter. Well, very well read there from Peter, and I think what he said there about giving Mullings a bit too much respect in the beginning might be exactly right, simply because he's running out of time. I mean, if he's 7 rounds behind with only 5 rounds to go, you know, that's the best he can do is lose 7-5. But of course, that's not going to win in the fight. He's not going to stop Pat Mullings. He hasn't got the power to do that, and Pat, of course, is resilient. But yes, he got off to quite a poor... In fact, the first round wasn't too bad for him, but Mullings sussed him out very quickly after that, and has won everything going since, bar the last round. But you know, that's only my assessment, of course, and of course Peter's opinion. So we'll leave it to the judges. But yes, we're not seeing those 6 and 7 punch volleys now from Mullings. He is in fact down to a single, if not a double punch, sometimes if we're lucky. But, you know, that's not at all surprising. He's had a very hard 1999 with all those 12-round fights, and it does take its toll. Once again, Wladimir Borov having a bit of success. Mullings beginning to tire now, and it's hardly surprising. It did set a very fast pace, not expecting this one to last as long as it has. And I just wonder whether he might have shot his bolt. I still think that Mullings could probably walk the rest of the rounds and still win the fight, because he did establish a lead come the halfway point. Slightly worrying though. I just wonder how much in fact Patrick has got left. You know, he's been a good servant of professional boxing in Britain, and he deserves a rest. Well, not much in that one, I don't think. Quite even, possibly a level round. But I'll have to check. Peter, difficult round to score?
I think that was probably very close, certainly an even round. But Borov is under no pressure at all now. He's certainly causing the most trouble, if any. And he's quite impressive, this boy, because he's come through a bit of a battle to get to this far, and now he seems to be calling the shots. It's going to be an interesting finish. Of course, he's so far in front on points, is Mullings, that he can't lose it unless he gets knocked out. And Steve said, well, that's not possible. Well, never say never in boxing.
Right, round 10, this is the home straight, then 10, 11, 12 to go. And barring knockouts, we think Mullings is on his way to winning another championship here. And just to add to that tally, of course, that he already has, of course, in the record books and the history books, as a former British champion and IBO champion. Although I don't think that's going to stand the test of time, personally. It's a combination, I think, of Mullings beginning to tire. You wouldn't be surprised at all if he would begin to tire of the sport. As I say, he's put a great deal into it. And of course, Borov's psychology now is... his psychological state has improved, because it couldn't have got much worse for him than it was in rounds 4, 5 and 6. But he's got through that patch, and now he is having a bit of success. But suddenly Mullings looks like he might find his second wind, and maybe that's what he's been looking for. Looked a little bit on the dull side to the last couple of rounds, but suddenly when the second wind does come for any athlete, be it in any sport, it really can make a massive difference. And the funny thing about a second wind, it's not the kind of thing you can train for. You can't talk yourself into it. Suddenly, all of a sudden, bang, it's there, and you feel fantastic. Bit of blood now on the face of Borov. You know, the realisation that you're just 5 minutes or so away from the end of the fight, a tough fight, and suddenly it can really raise your spirits and raise your game. Well, double jab then from Borov. And Borov, of course, would trade all of his apparent durability for one big punch. You can see, of course, the reddening around his ribcage. He really has taken a hammering downstairs. Bit of nose blood, of course, spreading around his face and the rest of his body as well. But that looks like Mullings has got back on track. So a bit of replay then from round 10, and this was Pat Mullings suddenly beginning to fly after, as I said before, a couple of flat rounds. It's very disconcerting to have this ring girl come and stand right above us here. I think she passed me a note a minute ago, but someone nicked it. We might get a look at her before the night's out, you never know.
Seconds out. Round 11.
Penultimate round then, here we go, round 11 of this schedule 12. Well, once again, Mullings whacking in those hard left hands. I think he's got his second win now. Just have another quick word with Peter.
Yeah, it looks like it. Borov looked slightly the worse for wear in the last round. He started fairly brightly this time, but there's a more clinical look about Mullings' boxing now. He seems to, as you say, he got his second win, got over that little blip that he had as Borov came at him. I don't think Mullings was ready for those last two rounds, and it surprised him rather. But Borov's got a hell of a lot to do to stay in the fight now. But it's a good fight. It's a very good fight indeed.
Thank you, Peter. And once again, Mullings there languishing in the corner there, inviting Borov. Really an uninvited guest, really, when you think about it, because Mullings didn't enjoy taking those punches then. I mean, there have been instances, of course, in the past, none that I could really put my finger on, where fighters have just completely caved in at the most unexpected moment, when really there was no erstwhile reason for it. But it's been a long time since I've seen that happen. I can't see it happening here. I can't just see... In fact, the last time I remember it happening was one of the... I think was Torsten Mai, possibly, against Adolfo Washington. You know, psychologically, he just lost it and walked away. So good work again now from Mullings. got over that flat patch, as Peter explained, and, you know, flying once again. Well, Borov once again having one of those little spells where Mullings lapses on the ropes, which is inadvisable. It's a bad habit, if anything else. Well, I can't imagine the judges having too much trouble with this one. It's been virtually one-sided. I've given Borov 2 rounds, the 8th and 9th. But Mullings won everything before that, and he's winning everything since then. Yep, and he's won that one too. Well, there you are. There's the blood flowing from the Bulgarian's nose. So a bit of replay then. Here we are, a bit of replay here from round 11. Mullings getting his timing back together, getting the speed back in his punch. And once again, a good body shot then from Patrick, and you saw the pain as Borov just elbows clutched his sides. 1 round to go. So 12th and final round then. Here we go then, 12th and final round. And if it finishes the way I expect it will, with Mullings winning this last one as well, I'm going to score it 118-110, which sounds pretty one-sided. But as we know, there was a period just past the halfway point when Borov came on. And, you know, Mullings has had to work hard in this one. It's never been one of those fights you could take casually. Nice left hand. Good punch. One of the most eye-catching punches of the last 5 or 6 rounds, in fact. And of course, success breeds success like nothing else in this sport, particularly. And a nice punch picking again from Mullings. Oh, well, feeling very confident now. He knows this baubles in the bag. Well, still Mullings putting the finishing touches to what's a fine win. Oh, lovely left hand again from Patrick. And again, and well, it leaves some... Oh, goodness me! Well, having looked like it'll go the full 12 rounds, suddenly, with just seconds left on the clock, Mullings puts him over. Well, time out now for the gum shield to be washed and replaced, and that's a bit of respite here, and he fell right in front of us and just knocked down the advertising hoarding. So can Pat Mullings, well, he's got him again. It's all, I don't believe it. The bell has just gone as well. 2 seconds before the final bell, the fight is over. And can you believe that? Patrick Mullings wins in the last couple of seconds. Peter, what do you think of that?
Well, it's a great win for Patrick, but it's a shame for Borov, because he's fought a magnificent fight, really, under pressure for a lot of the way, and he goes away with a great deal of credit from the fight. A lot of respect from Mullings, and certainly a lot of respect from the British boxing public. And this fight, let's underline it, this fight was a great advert for the International Boxing Organisation.
Here we go now. I think we're going to see the knockdown now. It was a little cluster of punches from Mullings, some hard punches. Probably the cleanest of the whole fight, in fact. Here we go. Bang, bang, bang. And 3 punches. Down he went, right in front of us. Up he got, and then Mullings poured on the pressure, and the bell was seconds away, and referee Terry O'Connor couldn't bear to see anymore. What a shame for Borov. So here we go for our MC, Michael Puss.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2 minutes and 59 seconds of round number 12. Your referee, Mr. Terry O'Connor, has stopped the contest. Borov being no position to continue. Your winner and the new IBO Inter-Continental Super Bantamweight champion from Harrow, Patrick Mullings.
Yeah, well, I think that was official time of 2 minutes, 59 seconds. And you can't get unluckier than that. You cannot get unluckier than that. That is a real bad break for Wladimir Borov, who loses with 1 second left in the fight. Can you believe it? But, well, Mullings was going to win the fight anyway, and referee Terry O'Connor handled, I think, the fight very, very well. But, of course, he didn't know how much was left on the clock. Maybe we should have a 5-second buzzer like they do in the States. So there we are then. He's got the belt is actually bigger than the championship itself, but isn't that always the way? The smaller the title, the bigger the belt. So there you are then. That's our Manchester evening over with. Patrick Mullings goes away with another championship, and well, it's been a good night here, I think, for the Millennium Sporting Club. It's been a good debut for Steve Foster and everyone else involved, of course.